Hi everybody. Hi. Thanks for coming. We're going to be teaching you how to design and sell characters or adoptables. There's some seats around, scattered around if you want to sit. If there's not enough seats, I can go get more seats if necessary. Yeah, there's some over here. There's a few on the wall. I know it's a little tricky to get in, but you can squeeze on in there if you want to. So I'm Furry Filth. Some people call me Tofu or Catatonics. I've been making art for pretty much since I was little, but I've been in the fandom for about a year, so I've been making art for about a year. And one of my favorite things to do since I started was to make characters and sell them off, because I just like making characters, but I don't need 37 characters every month. So I know people who make characters and they don't sell them and they just keep them, and they have so many characters. So we're gonna get started. The first slide I have is, also I wanted to say, the con book says that this panel runs till 4:30. It doesn't, because I want to go to the dance comp, and I'm sure some people in here also want to go to the dance comp. So yeah, before I realized I didn't have time to change it, they had already printed the con book, so I couldn't change it. But so yeah, it's going to cut off at 4 o'clock. So we'll get everything done in an hour. If you have any questions, try to save them toward the end. Just try to keep it in the back of your head, and we'll try to answer those at the end, okay? All right, so let's get started. Before we get started, I wanted to say this because I'm standing just a little bit. I wanted to say that everything that I say is just advice from my personal experiences of what I think works best and my style and what has worked best for me at the moment. There are no rules. There's no right or wrong way to make art or design a character or anything. You do what works for you. You do what you think sells best. You do what you like. That's what's most important. Do what works for you. Different characters appeal to different people. Just because someone says, I don't like that character, I don't like the colors on it, that doesn't mean someone else isn't going to. So if you like super saturated colors and neon and whatever, that's great. There's someone else out there who likes it too. You just got to stick to your guns and find someone to buy it. So I'm gonna be telling you oh, these colors work together. Don't do this, don't do that. But you do you. You do what works best for you. Okay. Everyone designs differently. Everything's gonna look different. You're not gonna have the exact same style as someone else. And art's supposed to be fun. So if you're not enjoying yourself and you're not enjoying making these characters and doing this kind of art, then probably take a break, because if you're not having fun, if you're not enjoying yourself, then it's probably going to show through your work, and it's going to show how you work through clients, or work with your clients, or work with your buyers, and it's not going to be a very fun experience for anybody. So make sure that you're happy with what you're doing. Make sure that it's exciting for you and you're passionate about it. Otherwise, it's going to be crap. It's not going to be good. Okay? So, step 1 is an idea. There's a couple different ways to make adoptables. You can start with an idea, which tends to bring the best ones, the most custom ones with the most depth. You can also just find a base or draw a picture and just color it in. That's perfectly fine if you want to do that. We're going to be mostly talking about the more in-depth version of that, okay? But yeah, you can also just get some colors and color it in. That's perfectly fine. That's a little bit of a different method than we're going to be talking about here, though, okay? Let's see. Finding inspiration. I have a file on my computer, I have a file on my phone, I have a file on my iPod, full of just random pictures that I found on the internet that I like, that I think are pretty. Anything that makes you feel something, that makes you feel, oh, I'm in the mood for Christmas, or oh, I like Halloween, or this makes me feel happy or warm or whatever, I save the picture, or I take a picture. These are some places you can find inspiration, and feel free to take pictures or anything like this, of this. I don't know if you can or not, if it's good or not. But Tumblr's good. You can search if you're looking for, you're in the mood to make a Halloween design, search Halloween or pumpkins or whatever, fall. Color palettes. I love color palettes. That's where I get most of my inspiration. I forgot to make a list of resources, but that's okay. There's lots of Tumblr blogs that do color palettes. There's some websites. You just save them. My program doesn't let me eyedropper from the internet. I don't know if some other programs do, but you can also do that if you wanted to. Books, if you like books. Book covers are also great. Some of the art on that's really good. Stories and moods. I mostly go with moods and feelings rather than colors and visual design. I feel like it gives the characters more depth rather than just that looks pretty, let's do that, Craft stores, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, Michael's, when they have their decorations out, or their flowers. I'll take pictures of flowers. It's really weird. I think the colors are really great. You just take a picture, save it on your phone, email it to yourself, have it on your computer. And music. Music is great. I have Chianti, who I actually designed him as an adoptable, sold him, and then wanted him back so bad that I got him back. Luckily, she was selling him again as an adoptable. She didn't use him. But he was inspired by Panic at the Disco song, Emperor's New Clothes. So he's like a red wine color, and he's got like ivory eyes and like these gold ivory and dark red horns and really lavish looking. So that was an example of a music inspiration. I also have a couple characters after the song Heathens. So anything really can be inspiration. So be on the lookout for that. I just constantly save it just throughout the day, the week, whatever. I just have a bunch of it on hand because you never know when you're going to need it. So I have a couple ideas written down here. Just, you can have a note thing or a document on your computer and just write down ideas. Hardcore, awesome, contrasting and exciting. Summer, light, refreshing, cute, fun. Halloween, magic, eerie, light and cold. And then after you have your ideas and you have your inspiration and you kind of know generally what you need to do, Julie, can you run out and ask for some more chairs?
Yeah. Well, you have them all right here. So.
If anyone has like room to let people in and get chairs, that would be fantastic. There's a lot of people. What's that, guys? Sorry, I'm recording a video. All right. Let everyone get sat down. So after you get your idea and you kind of have a general idea of what direction and what mood you want to set with the character, you can start working on your lines. There's a couple different ways you can do lines. You can either draw them yourself or you can get a base and edit the base. And I'll show you some examples here. Well, actually, here, we'll do this first. When choosing your base, if you're using a base or if you're doing lines, etc., always respect the base artist's rules. If you're using a base, do not, for the love of God, do not go on Google Images and find a picture and use it. Because you have no idea what the actual source is or who the real artist is. Anyone can take it, repost it, and say, this is my base, it's free to use, or I'm selling it, or whatever. Find the actual artist, okay? And when you do, make sure that you follow their rules. A lot of artists won't let you profit off of them. A lot of them do, but some of them don't, especially if it's a free-to-use base. Some people don't like that. Some people won't let you edit it certain ways, like they won't let you change the species or whatever. A lot of the times they do, but just be aware of that. And sometimes they'll have a price cap. So they'll say, oh, you can sell dots on it, but you can't charge more than $15 or something like that. So just be aware of that when you're picking a base, okay? Don't just assume that, oh, I found on Google Images, this is fine, this will work. Because then whoever buys it is going to be the one getting the backlash, not you. And that's not really fair. So just be aware of that. Always follow species rules. When you choose your species, make sure that you kind of know, because again, if you do it wrong, you're probably not going to be the one getting the backlash. It's going to be your buyer. And that doesn't look good on you as an artist if you sold something that's incorrect or wrong. So make sure that you kind of know what the anatomy should be, what rules, and any subspecies or anything like that before you make, especially with regulated species like wicker beasts or anything like that. So just be aware of that before you start making one. Never trace a base unless you have like written permission from the artist. That's really not really something you're supposed to do, is trace a base. Especially if it's a pay-to-use base. Don't do that. That's stealing. Don't do that. You can reference a base if you want to make your own and you don't want to buy it, but try to change it up enough to where it doesn't look like the base that you're referencing it from, obviously, because that's tracing and therefore stealing. So that's just some base etiquette to keep in mind, okay? This is an example of what I was going to do for the summer idea that we had. I chose something with a little bit of fish kind of things. This is a base by Mishru-san. Mana kits are by Dubma. There's some credits there, you can't really see. I always put my watermark, you can see my big cat head, sort of, around there, and my watermark there. Edits and designed by Furry Phil. Just so that they know, that Mishru-san didn't do the design that I did. So that way, if something goes wrong, they're not going to the base artist saying, you did this wrong, this is, shouldn't have sold this, but they didn't. So I always try to do that. Never remove credits from bases. Don't do it. That is not okay. Leave them on there. I moved these around because they were really big. Not all artists are okay with that. Make sure you have permission before you do that with the base, okay? So this is what I chose for the summer idea. It was a mana kit. This is what I chose for the contrasting hardcore one. It's the Leather Sword by Clowngren. Credits are there. This was a free-to-use base. I'm not sure she retired it or not yet. I know she sold the species, but that's what I chose for that. And this I drew myself. This is custom lines for a Dutch Angel Dragon. This guy sold for $300. So I'll show you what he looked like at the end. He got Autobot for $300. These bars here, if you ever see those are for color palettes. You'll see that later when it's colored. But I always try to include that somehow. Just makes it easier, because when you're using it as a ref sheet, you gotta have color palette. Especially with this guy, because this guy's got like airbrushing on him. Not shaded, but he's got like airbrushing. It's kind of tricky to use a eyedropper tool on an airbrushed character. So I drew that myself. The reason I drew this one myself instead of editing a base is because he had so many different things that would not be on a base. I wanted to make sure that he didn't have a mouth. He's a ghost theme. Start with that. I wanted to make sure he had kind of that smoky, wispy, candle bit stuff. The bones on the wings. This isn't a good example, but he has feathered wings. You can't really see, but I drew him in later. All the bones, no toes, you know. So that's why I custom drew it, rather than editing a base. I would have just been editing the base till it's basically unrecognizable. I figured I'd just draw it. So that's why I did that. Base or custom lines? How do you know if you should do a base or custom lines? What species is it? Some species don't really have that much access to bases. I know there's not very many skunk bases or possum bases. And if they are, they might not be very quality. So just browse, yeah. Just browse and see what you can find. Like I said, a lot of species won't have them. There's a lot of like fandom-made species. There's tons of Dutchie bases, tons of Wickerbees bases, Manakits or some bases, tons of dog bases. Oh my god, so many. But just browse a little bit and just look for different species. You never really know what species you're going to find. Make sure that the species is open too, and that you can make one. Some of them you're not allowed to make. And go check what body type you want and what attitude you want, because you don't want to use just the same body type over and over again. Because some of them might be, rounder, some of them might be thinner, and they'll completely change the dynamic of the character. So keep that in mind. You can always edit it if you need to edit the base and the attitude. Because some bases are like really cute, and some of them are a little more sassy, and some of them are very, basic, front, back, side, whatever. So just keep that in mind when you're choosing a base. Make sure it complements your idea, make sure it works. Step 3 is the colors. I ordered it this way just to kind of make more sense. You don't necessarily have to have your colors beforehand. Sometimes I'll color as I pattern. I'll just kind of try, it looks better with this as the base color and this with the secondary, whatever. But for this presentation, I did the colors this way. But you don't necessarily have to have the colors before patterning, okay? Colors can complement or contrast the attitude, etc. You can have an angry, mean character that's light pink and blue and white and yellow and colored in clouds. Or you can have a really shy, cute character that's like red with X's in her eyes and black all over. And it creates more interest rather than just having a stereotypical, hardcore character. It just makes it more interesting, because people have seen something so many times that if they see it like, oh, this is for sale for $25, it's like, yeah, my friend's got 3 of those. Try to make something a little different, mix it up a little bit. Do something that you haven't seen before. If you've seen it before, or you've seen something like it before, chances are that your buyers have too. So try to mix it up a little bit. If making your own color palette, be careful. Please do not take your little color thingy, stick it all the way up in the corner of your color chooser, and use that saturated color. Don't do it. They're not real. They hurt your eyes. Don't do it. Okay? I had a bad habit of doing that. I also had a bad habit of making everything too dark, and I'm trying to break that habit. Yes?
I like to say, a bit of advice, if you want to use bright colors, try using pastels rather than saturated.
Yeah. If you're going for a bright color, you can definitely use bright colors. That's not a problem at all. But just pull it out of that corner a little bit. Just move it a little closer to the white. Move it a little more down. Just don't stick it all the way in the corner. It just doesn't really look that great. It looks kind of MS Painty, which I think you feel me on that. Yeah. So just try to avoid doing that, especially with blue and red. It just looks so much better if you just don't do that. If you make your own color palette, try to make sure that the colors go together. Pretty much any color can go together if you're good with eyeballing it. Usually if I'm making my own color palette, this takes me a little bit of time. Because you have this color and you're like, oh, well, I like these two together, but this one doesn't really fit. And it takes a little bit of time to get it, like, you know, complementary and get them to work together. So don't get frustrated if that happens, just keep trying, right? So just be a little aware of that. Black and white aren't real. They don't exist. They don't exist. If you take an art class, that's probably one of the first things they're going to teach you is that white and black aren't real. It might be dark blue, it might be light purple, but it's not black or white. It doesn't exist, okay? So unless you're lining, like really the only way you should ever use black is for complete void. Complete void. Like space. Yes. So black's not real unless you're like lining or, you know, doing your background or something. That's not that important. White, you should really only use white when you're drawing the sun or like a very bright light. You can use very light yellow. I usually do that, very light yellow, something like that. It makes it look better on the eye rather than stark colors like that. That kind of goes back to not shoving your color chooser all the way up in the saturated corner. Okay? For the love of God, don't use saturated colors. Be careful when using colors from popular characters. Obviously, no one owns a color or combination of colors, so you're more than welcome to use Magir's colors or Telephone's colors, but don't make the same character with them, because it's not going to look good. Like I said, no one owns a combination of colors, but do just be aware if you're using, you know, a similar color combination that you don't make it look too much like someone. Otherwise, it's just going to cause drama, and it's not fun. Just don't do it. Yes?
I draw a lot of canvas, so I have a hard time with like picking a not jet black color.
Okay.
With darker blacks.
Hold on to that one. I'll get back to that one. Julia, do you have like a note thing on your phone?
Dark purple.
Yeah, dark purple. I made a panda mannequin that had like dark purple. It'd be really good. You'd also try like a dark brown.
Dark
Or something
blue.
like that. Dark blue, yeah. Or you could do like gradients. It's not really fursuit friendly, that's later on, but I mean you could do like black and then just kind of around the edges of the spots do like a something else or like a dark blue in the middle. Just, you know, mix it up. Just try some different ones. No problem. Yeah, be careful when using colors from popular characters. Just be aware that if you make it look too much like the popular character, there's probably going to be a little bit of issues there. So just be aware of that. Yeah.
Like somebody can't really want to cut out.
Yeah, that's, for sure. This is the color palette that I chose for the summer one. Obviously it's got a watermelon, so summertime. I know the colors aren't the best, but this is actually like a dark brownish purple. And I actually made this darker. And I added another one that was even darker. So you can tweak color palettes. You do not have to just take a color palette off Google and use it. You are more than welcome to change it. Okay? You're not restricted by anything. This is the color palette I chose for the hardcore Leathersaur. Again, the colors aren't that great, but these are like more sandy colors, and this is a light blue. This is like a kind of like moleskin. I think I called them a moleskin Leathersaur. So they're kind of like grayish browns and blue, light blue. And I've got one more that's similar to this one. This is the colors that I chose for the ghost one. And I know these look green to you guys, but these are like bone colors. They are a little bit green. That's like a sand color. Darkest blue, lighter blue, almost white. Not quite, but almost. So those are the ghost ones. And when you look at this, or when you look at it on there, I know it's a little green on here, but it looks like the beach. I didn't actually put the color palette together until after I designed the character. So I was looking at it and I was like, wow, if I had like seen that on Google, I probably would have made a beach-themed character. Because that's what those colors say to me, is like sand and water. But it's totally not, it's a ghost. So, you know, just look at your color palette. Think what else it could be other than what the first thing that comes to mind. Step 4 is the pattern. A note on skinning. This is what you were talking about. Skinning is taking a popular character from an existing franchise, like Disney or anything like that, and putting the design onto a character. You can get in trouble for this. I'm pretty sure, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm pretty sure you can get in trouble for exactly copying characters and making money off of them, because that's copyright infringement. Alright? I don't know anything about using them for yourself. I have no idea about that, but I'm pretty sure that's not allowed. You're not allowed to sell these. You could get in trouble, and not only could you get in trouble, but if you sell it, your buyer could potentially get in trouble. So, yeah?
Now, Sonic fans do this a lot.
Yeah, a lot of people do it. I mean, A lot of people do it. I know that you're really not supposed to. Because it is copy. When it's an exact copy. You can have inspired characters, which is on there later. But an exact copy is a skin, and you're really not allowed to sell those. You really shouldn't sell those. You can make literally anything. Put some thought into it. Literally anything. There's no boundaries. There are no rules. Just make something from your own mind. There are endless possibilities. You don't have to use that exact character's design. You don't have to. I know you really want to, and you can probably for your own character. I don't know anything about that. I'm not a lawyer on it. But there are so many other options that you could do instead of just taking that character's design. You can make inspired characters. You can have a Pokemon inspired something. I see lots of like Sylveon. I think it's a Pokemon. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know Pokemon.
I mean, they did. Yeah.
Something like that. But yeah, and you can take the colors. When you take the colors, that you immediately, like when you take I'm thinking of one. Pikachu. If you do Pikachu's colors, people know that it's Pikachu's colors, and it doesn't have to look exactly like Pikachu, but it can look similar, and you're not skidding, and now you have a Pikachu-inspired character. So there you go. And that's perfectly fine. As long as it's inspired and it's not an exact copy. You can't have carbon copies where you just take the skin and put it on a different character, because that's not really allowed. So yeah, so just be aware of that when you're designing, that it's not really kosher, like I said. Everyone has a different design style that will appeal to different people. I mentioned this earlier. Everyone's going to design differently. I design differently from my favorite adoptable maker. I have friends that design differently from me. I'm not very good at fursuit-friendly designs. I'm not good at it. I love gradients. I love the airbrush tool. They're my favorite things in the world. I don't like making like flat, solid, blocky colors. I have a hard time with it. But I have friends who make them all the time. They make fursuit-friendly designs. They make some really awesome, like intricate fursuit-friendly designs. And I'm like, how? But everyone just designs differently, and that's perfectly fine. Everyone's going to appeal to different people. That's why we are able to find so many different adoptables that appeal to different people. And that's why we have so much diversity in our characters, because we all have a different design style. Okay? Consider taking inspiration from real animals. I get into such a rut when it comes to patterns. I did everything with spots for like 2 months. Spots with like a ring around it. Everything. Everything had that. And I was like, after a while I noticed it, I was like, I think I need to like mix this up a little bit. I'm not really sure if this is going to keep going well for me. So look up some animals. Fish is a really good one. Just look up some fish. Big cats tend to have like similar markings. You can do lots of stuff with stripes, you can do lots of stuff with spots. Color blocking. What I love to do, if you want to have just some more visual interest, is, so I can pull up the, see if you can see it on there. You really can't see it on here, but he's got like a light color tan, and then on the tips, on his feet, he has a darker color tan. So he's like technically 3 colors, and the swirls actually have 2 shades of lighter colors. So it just makes it look better. Even though the design is really simple, he's got some color contrast going on there, so it just looks nicer to the eye when you look at it. So I can find where I would just have. Where was that?
So cool.
Here. Yeah. You can reference other designs. That does not mean copy. I know I keep going back to this, and it's probably annoying me. I'm sorry. You can reference other designs, but don't copy. If you like someone else's character, you can find what you like about it. Don't just say, I like that character, I'm going to make it. Because that's not okay. You wouldn't want someone doing that to you. Don't do it to someone else. But think about what you like about that character. Do you like the colors? Do you like the contrast of it? Do you like the personality? Do you like the markings? And then try to reinterpret that through your own mind. Put it through your own filter and come up with something that's different, but still what you like. So don't copy, but you can reference. Referencing is perfectly okay as long as you know how to do it right. Designs with gradients and certain details are not fursuit friendly. I mentioned that earlier. Yeah, you can't. I mean, unless your fursuit maker is willing to like spray paint your entire suit, you can't do gradients on a fursuit to the best of my knowledge. Large gradients. I know airbrushing around the face and stuff is possible, but large gradients, like I showed you with Alistair, I don't think you can do that. It would have to be blocked like that. So just be aware of that. If someone is on Facebook saying, I'm looking for a design for a fursuit, they're not going to be able to buy the ones with the gradients because it doesn't really work. So just something to be aware of. And if you design one and you're selling it that is fursuit friendly, you can put in the ad like, oh, it's fursuit friendly as a selling point. Okay? Because that helps. Patterns should either complement or contrast the characters. Like I said earlier, you can have a pink and yellow and blue and fluffy colors, but it can have like X's and like really hardcore patterns on it and look really cool, rather than just being hearts and rainbows all the time. So it can either or it could just be hearts and rainbows. It's a really cute fluffy character. So it can be whatever you want. It's whatever you want it to be. So just keep that in mind that you can do whatever you want. Any kind of patterns, contrast. Try to think of something different that no one else has seen before. This is the finished mannequin. He's watermelon themed. He's got, he was actually, what was it? Sparkling watermelon spritzer? I don't know. I designed him like that. But he's got like white, I think this is actually like a very light green. Yeah, there's the full palette there. See how many colors I added? I darkened that one, had that one, added these, added all these, and that's not white as you can see. But yeah, so he's got watermelons. But instead of rather than just taking like an actual watermelon, just stamping it on there, just, watermelon-esque, similar to a watermelon. And it looks interesting. But if someone buys it and they don't want it to be a watermelon, then it doesn't have to be a watermelon. It just has similar watermelon colors and kind of looks a little bit like watermelon. But so, and then for the sparkling part, there's some like spots going up the legs like bubbles. So, there's that one. Let's see what else I got. I think the leather sword is next. Here's the leather sword. I love this guy's ears. His ears go through those in his ears,
Whoa,
which I thought was really cool.
Pretty cool.
Isn't that cool? Yeah. I have another one that I'm making. It's a Dutch angel dragon. I started making them like 3 months ago. I haven't finished them. That's the same one. He's got like 3 of them going through his ears. I thought it was really cool. Horns are amazing. Horns are awesome. I wish I had saved, I have Pollux on here. I'll show you. I love horns. I love antlers and horns. I made one named London Fog. She was a Dutchie. I make a lot of Dutchies. And her antlers, I don't remember. No, what were they? They were like antlers and ram horns at the same time. I don't remember. I have to look her up. Shit, I'm trying to remember how they went. They were like antlers and ram horns at the same time. I have to look at them. Yeah, they were really cool. I started playing with those when I first started. You can do anything with horns. Look up like Australian animals with horns, or African animals with horns. There's tons of horns. And take 2 and smash them together and make something new. Like, it's really fun. Yeah, this guy's, his horns go through his ears. Added some spikes. See the gradient on the fin. Blue eyes, that's the only thing on him that's blue. If you have a color that you're not really sure what to do with, just add it to the eyes. That's what I do. Can't really see, but his paw pads are like a dark, dusty pink-ish. But yeah, so there's the contrasting one. But yeah, like he's got the snow leopardy spots. He's pretty simple. He's fursuit friendly. But yeah, I don't remember how much he sold for. Probably not that much, but he's cute. And then also, I want to point out, I don't think I wrote it anywhere on the PowerPoint, backgrounds matter. The background that it's on, it matters. Don't leave it white. Don't make it a solid color because it just kind of takes away. You can have a fantastic design on a kind of crummy background. It just makes it look cheap. So I kind of add a variety in them. My new thing right now is just a black one with like a white line around it. You'll see it with the ghost one I'm about to show you. And then just like, it's kind of more classy, I guess. With the name, with the line here, the name, the whatever, color palette. And it just looks a little classier, a little more ritzy if you want more money for it. This was predated before I started doing my watermark and everything. But yeah, backgrounds matter. This guy, he kind of does ink splats, kind of, complement it, and just kind of bring out the personality and the feeling of it better. So just keep that in mind. Don't just, make the background blue and think that it's fine. You gotta kind of work with it a little bit. If you want people to buy it and people to be attracted to it, you gotta put some effort into it. This is Gas.
Whoa.
Gas sold for $300. Yeah. So you can see this is black. I know the projector's off, but the background's all black. I kind of made him pop a little bit by doing a little bit of airbrushing on the back. The blue you can see around it, because he does glow. And he's got the bones around his chest, the bones on his wings, and the feathers. Because Dutchies have to have feathered wings, at least 50% feathered wings. And I kind of gave him that deep, almost hollow feeling by adding dark to the center of him and having white around the edge. So, and he was kind of inspired, he was inspired by ghosts, but he was also inspired by blown out candles and the smoke. So, yeah, he sold for $300. His auction, actually, he sold the first day I posted him. He sold right like that. And his auction was like a few days long, so someone just snatched him right out. So, there's that. And then also, I added some shading in the back here to kind of make him pop, 'cause he's kind of blending into his own wings. So just keep things like that in mind. Make it look good. If it doesn't look good when they look at it to buy it, they're just going to go, it's just another one, and then just scroll past it. So it's got to look good. It's got to catch their eye and make them go, whoa, like that's cool. I want that, you know. So keep those things in mind when you're doing it. One thing I do want to note, though, this guy was a little tricky because I wanted to make sure you had that kind of deep, wispy feeling, but you should not shade references. Who's an artist? Raise your hand if you're an artist. Don't you hate it when people shade their references? It sucks. Don't do it.
Especially when they use black in there.
Yes. Yeah.
No.
If you absolutely have to shade it, have a separate version saved without the shading for the person to use as a reference sheet. Do not shade your reference sheets. Word of advice. It's terrible. So this guy was a little trickier because, you know, you wanted to have him the glowiness, but he's got the eyedropper there. He's all one color. So I figured he was a little bit of an exception. So just be aware of that. Step 5 is selling it. I could make an entire panel on just this subject. Do the next one. Auction or flat sale. I'm going to sit down for a minute. Auction or flat sale. You see me, Julia? An auction, I don't actually know what's on there. Designs you feel are worth more can be put up for auction. It allows the bidders to decide the worth. If you make a design that you feel like you could get more for, like you think, wow, this one's worth $300 or something like that, you can put it up for auction and let people decide what they think it's worth. And they'll bid up until they decide, like, you know, 200 is too much for that, like, that's, you know, and then they'll stop it there. You let the people decide how much they want to pay for it. You can put auctions on Fur Affinity, which is where I do mine. Auction websites like Furbuy, I think Furbuy is an auction website. I don't use that, but I know a lot of people that do. And some platforms don't allow auctions. I know Facebook does not allow auctions unless they changed it recently. But yeah, just be aware of that, because you don't want your auction getting zucked, okay? So just be aware of that. Flat sale designs are usually quick designs that can be sold for a lower price. Usually, all right? That's just how I do it. I know a lot of people who sell them for $200 and they do great, but I can't. I don't know how to do that. Flat sales, yeah. So the way I do it, usually when I do a flat sale, usually it'll be on a base, and it's just something I whipped up real quick because I was bored or as a warm-up. And I think the most expensive flat sale one I've ever sold, I don't remember exactly, but it might have been like 40 or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. But I've never tried, like Gas, the ghost one, I've never tried putting anything like him up for flat sale before, so you could potentially make more than that. But usually what I do is I have I think my most expensive ones that I make regularly, like 25 bucks, they take me like less than an hour to make. I just whip them up, you know, just something I do when I'm watching TV, you know, making designs, and then put them up for flat sale and make a quick buck. But yeah, but if you have one that you want to make like into the triple digits,